right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Tamara Johnson Shealey. Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful sunny morning here in Atlanta. It is absolutely beautiful this morning. We've had days of rain and gloomy skies, but it is absolutely beautiful this morning. But we have a conversation this morning that I don't want to delay. So one of my Clubhouse friends, for those of you that know, I spend a lot of time on Clubhouse. Facebook has not been my friend. Your girl is still banned on Facebook. So I spent a lot of time on Clubhouse making connections, met someone on Clubhouse. He said, we got to have this conversation. I said, what conversation? He's like, reparations in China. We have to have this conversation. I'm like, yes. What is this correlation? What does this look like? So he's here. His name is David. We call him Jacob. Jacob?
Yep. Jacob.
Jacob. Right. I got it right. Jacob, my friend Jacob. Welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for joining me this morning. How are you?
Pretty good. How about you? How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. It's beautiful. Where are you in these United States? What state?
I'm located in St. Louis, and it's horrible, cold, and wet right now. So
yeah, you can have that.
Yep, so we don't have the same weather you do down there.
No, it is sunny. It is beautiful. But this is still cold for us. We're probably 55 degrees. That's cold to us.
Gotcha. It's 36 here. So yeah, it's not fun.
So who am I to complain, right? Let me be quiet.
I would much prefer what you have, definitely.
But thank you for joining me on the broadcast, and thank you for, reaching out and, suggesting that we have this conversation out loud. When you first said to me reparations in China, I just kind of was like, okay. I think I was a little like unsure myself, but I'm just glad that we are gonna have this conversation today and see this correlation, because there is a correlation between reparations and China. You want to start, David? Where we start?
Yes. So when I was talking about reparations in China, I'm not talking about COVID reparations or anything. I'm talking about reparations from the United States to Black Americans here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it's an important thing is it's a national security issue. That's the way the GOP sees it, and I'm a Republican myself. So on the Republican side, everything's national security based, and we've had an issue inside the United States where America has failed to appeal to its own citizens, the Black Americans, and instead China has come into this vacuum, and they've attempted to do so, and they've done it feeding them communism, turning Marxist theory into Black liberation theory, correlating the Chinese Maoism into most Black organizations that exist today. And it's basically we need reparations as a reclamation of the United States. We need to have a reunion of these two people that have helped build the Americas. So it's not just about.
Put a pin right there. Put a pin right there. Let's rewind, because I want you to come back to what you just said. The reclamation right there. We're gonna come right back to that, but give some context to who you are. Introduce yourself, because I want people to see this is a Jewish man, obviously white. He just told you he's Republican. Introduce yourself.
So I've actually worked for Josh Hawley out of St. Louis before in the 2018 campaign, and I've done a lot of GOP work. So we've done work with Black Lives Matter here in St. Louis and other things like that. I mean, I've had communication with them, not too much stuff, obviously, being opposite sides of the aisle. But in St. Louis, you'll find that that the idea that communism is the enemy has been not necessarily the enemy, but it's not a friend, has taken over. So we've done work within these communities here to try to make sure that reparations is gotten, and that the GOP is somehow able to support it, because there's been a lot of pushback with the GOP. So I've been trying myself personally to handle that and flip the script back to a supportive stance.
Yeah. So thank you for understanding, because those of us, in this reparations movement, we understand this is a debt owed. We understand it. Getting Black people, and that's been a big part of. We first as a people have to understand how this works, and it is a debt, and what this is, and why this can happen, why this should happen. So there's a lot of political education that we are having with Black people, those of us in the reparations movement. But it is hard for us to have that conversation, and we're trying, because I'm personally trying to have that conversation across the aisle with Republicans, trying to figure out how to have this reparations conversation with a party that historically was ours, right? Like we go back into history, we were
Yep.
Republicans, like
Yep.
from the very beginning. And
Exactly.
how do we get them to see that this reparations agenda is beneficial to the America that we all love?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Is we have to rewrite the language to a way that they can hear it. The problem isn't that the GOP disagrees. I would say the GOP disagrees with some of the messaging that comes across.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have a lot of talking points that they specifically don't like, and you have to change the talking points into something they do like. So specifically, like China, that's the reason why China is a big one, because if you, the China is a huge national security threat, and when it comes to national security, you have to at the same time fight China, restore American faith in the American dream, and it is a debt owed. And what better way to restore that faith, to bring people back to the American dream, than to pay the debt that is owed? So that's the way I see it. The same way that that Germany paid the debt to the Jews when after reparations that they had there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So before we dive all the way in and bring this thing together with reparations and China, let's kind of continue down this path with reparations and Republicans.
Yes.
So why do you think you say it's messaging, you say so it's what is it about? Because for us on the other side of it, Jacob, Jacob,
Jacob.
Jacob. It's a Y, everybody. Put a Y on
Why? Yep.
it. Jacob. What we think it is, and what we believe it is, because we are so accustomed to the racism that lives inside of quote unquote the Republican Party, that, let me say this, Jacob, lives inside of the Democratic Party too. So I don't play that game. That is, it's
Yes.
one party versus the other. It is both parties where racism lives. So for us, we see it as them being racist and not wanting to push something. It's like cutting off your nose in spite of your face. So that is what we see. Correct me if I'm not right there in what you see. Like, let's figure that out.
So I would say that there's small elements that they're against it because they're racist, but the larger part is most of the conservative people, they're against tax spending. They would hate taxes being spent at all. So the idea of taxes being spent on things is what turns them off. But the only time they do like when taxes is spent on things is when it comes to national security. So if the Pentagon needs an airplane, or they need bomb detectors, and they're all down to spend that money. So that's the way you have to flip it. It has to not seem like a social program, but it has to be a national security program. It has to appeal to the national security side of their spending habits, and that's the way that I'd see it. That's the main issue, is the economics behind the reparations, not movement, but I'd say the messaging that comes out in some places. The messaging just isn't necessarily correct. I've done PR myself. That's the way I see it, is the way to transform it into a PR success, because I'm not against reparations in any way. I think it's important for the United States to go forward another 100, 200, 300 years into the future.
So here's where you're nailing it with me, and you're saying we have to talk economics. And that is where, when I talk to Republicans and conservatives about reparations, I do speak dollars and cents. I have learned to take my emotions out of it, because they aren't so emotionally attached, and that's not a place that they will go with me. So I don't try to address reparations from that perspective. But what I do is I do talk dollars and cents. And maybe here's where you can kind of help us, those of us in the reparations movement, to kind of fine tune our messaging. So I always talk about, one, how it will stimulate the economy. We're clear that if
Yes.
Black people, those of us, let's be clear, those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery, because America does not owe all Black people. And I think that is part of the pushback too, because Republicans and conservatives ask the question, well, who do we actually owe? Because they don't owe Black immigrants. They don't owe them
Yes,
anything. You
it's
migrated
simply the
here.
descendants of slaves. Exactly.
Yeah. So we have to be very specific when we talk to conservatives and Republicans about who is owed. So that part, I think we get right with them. And the other part of it is, like I say, stimulating the economy. we're not going to take the money and not spend it. So that money is going to go right back into building, and helping America. What is your thought on that first talking point?
Yes, that's definitely the fact that it would stimulate the economy. That's a very good one there. They could start small businesses. It would help grow small towns. One thing I always talk about with reparations, and it would stimulate the economy, is that we would see new communities grow up across the United States. Where you drive through rural America and you find white towns, you would eventually find black towns. It's just as suburban and friendly, and where people could leave the what I call the urban plantations, where everybody's stuck inside of cities, where people are able to actually leave. They have financial aid and ability to leave. Then it would actually create more towns, which is more shipping, more infrastructure spent. So it would definitely be great.
So that talking point, I think, resonates with conservatives and Republicans. That first talking point, stimulating the economy. My second talking point is, I always talk about how it will lower your tax burden. You have more people participating in the economy. We could lower their tax burden. What do you think about that talking point?
So when I think it comes to taxes, I think that the best argument, in my opinion, for the GOP conservatives would actually be not to argue on top of reparations, but to argue a tax incentive, tax write-off. So basically, a 5-year tax immunity from federal taxes, in a sense. And the reason why is because once you get reparations, then there's going to be a giant tax system that takes it, that tries to take portions of it, whether it be your land or, the way that it's always worked. So it needs to have that 5-year period, 10-year period of actually no taxes there, so that there's an ability to grow. Now you can leave state level local taxes so that the local and state communities can grow up, and local taxes, it would really take care of the Black communities that build together by themselves. But the federal taxes, it's a blanket tax. If you remove that for 10 years, when it comes to taxes, the removal of taxes is something the GOP always gets behind. It does. They're always supporting it. So if they can start level 1, then they're gonna go behind it. So that's what I actually say, is that instead of stimulate the tax economy, because they don't actually care about more money into the tax system. They want less money into the tax system. So that's the purpose of most of the conservative movement these days.
So what you're saying, and let me kind of make sure I'm understanding, is if we were able to get some sort of if those taxes, we were removed from paying those taxes, it would show America, and it could be an example of how we can do and still thrive without these taxes that we claim we need from everybody.
Yes.
Maybe this could be the example that
they would see Black America thriving, and they would decide themselves, hey, maybe we can do this as well. So it would start an avalanche path that the conservatives, I would say, would be behind 100%. That's the idea. And that's the way you have to paint it as well, as, hey, this is step 1. Step 2 is removal of, your taxes too. Let's start off with this one. We owe a debt. Let's pay the debt in this way. And if it works out, then we can expand it to all the people, that way, to where we can have a less federal system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So my third talking point. So I have 3. So my third talking point is what was my third one? Wait a minute. Stimulate the economy, lower your tax burden. Oh, and we could eliminate or reallocate monies from dead end social programs. So here's where I push back on the Democrats, where we have these programs. Like, for example, this is one I always use because it so resonated with me. There was a girl on Instagram, and she was offered $2 more per hour on her job, but refused to take the raise because it would interfere with the monies that she got for her housing. So She knew if she had gotten a raise, it would cut into the monies that she paid for housing. So she couldn't take the raise because it would affect her housing, and she
couldn't afford. It was a gray area where she couldn't afford to move, so she would have been basically homeless with a job. Yeah. And
yes,
that's a lot of what these worker social. That's the problem with a lot of social programs, is when it's government based. There's lots of red tape that comes involved. So the idea of charity that comes along, that most people think that these programs are, is not actually charity. It's there's lots of hoops that you have to jump through to even access it, and then if you don't jump through the hoops, then you get left behind. So we have to create a different system where that money, like you said, is allocated into a different package. Even if it's reparations package, instead of the way I see it is the deurbanization program, that I've heard some GOP members talk about, which is basically a program to expand people out of cities so they have more rural communities, so that everybody's not, basically it's like when you come out here to the rural areas, you have a house and it's one person, and then next door there's a house and there's, one family. But in the cities, it's 100 people living on one lot in something called an apartment, so it's like basically a concrete plantation is the way I describe it myself. And we have to end that practice and start moving people out into the open land where there is housing that's available. There's land that's available, and it's not being used. A lot of it's held for, federal reasons. And that's land that was actually promised to, the descendants of slaves. It's specifically, I forget, Sharmland or something like that is what it's called, over in South Carolina up to Florida, where they actually took that land and handed it over to the Southern slave owners. So if we were able to pay the slave owners reparations, then we can pay the slaves that we promised the exact same thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it is. It's like you said, a debt owed.
Mm-hmm. So my 3 talking points, I think I've been nailing it. So I feel good to hear that we've been talking about stimulating the economy, lowering their tax burden, and reallocating or eliminating dead end social programs. So those have been my talking points as to why, reparations could work, as I speak with conservatives and Republicans. And I'm just hopeful that they hear us. So let me ask you, do you think, because I believe, honestly, because of the way I've been navigating around conservatives and Republicans, I think they are hearing us. What do you think?
Yes, I think they definitely are. I've heard it. I know that this conversation has been done in St. Louis many times between specifically GOP and Black Lives Matter, because obviously Missouri is a Republican-led state, and Black Lives Matter started really here in Missouri, and I think it was Atlanta, I think where you are, or Georgia somewhere. And, it's those 2 places. So because it is those 2 conflicting ideologies, there is some communication that has to be done. And both sides have understood that if we're not talking to each other, then we're only going to fight each other. And that's a horrible idea that the GOP doesn't want. It makes everybody look racist. And then it's not what, Black America wants, because a lot of the times they live in GOP states. And it's like, these are the people in power. It's best to, talk together and become one people instead of fighting over the Democrats who haven't, led to, not necessarily the Democrats, what I'm saying there, because it's like, you're Democrats, you know what I'm saying? And there's definitely ones that I support. But when it comes to the greater party of the GOP and the DNC, you have to appeal to unity, because that's what we are. We are family. Mm-hmm. We are one nation. We are brothers and sisters here in this country. And we have to act like that. We have to remember that. So we have to find common ground between not just Black America and the GOP, but between Democrats and the GOP. And that common ground has to be reparations. If we can all get together on that one thing, then I can see a future going 1,000 years forward with almost a biblical, way of unity between Black and white America, where we're all friends again, where we can forget the evils of the past and move forward, basically.
Well, I don't think we're going to forget, but here's what I do want us to do.
Never forget. Forgive. That's what you were saying. Never forget, forgive.
Forgive.
We'll never forget the Holocaust, but we can forgive them once, it's been a couple hundred years. But that doesn't mean we're ever going to be like, hey, we're not going to let you live it down. So that's the saying that you should live by too. Don't, never forget.
But we can forgive, and and know that this generation of us, we're going to get it right. And that's where I find so much hope, because you and I aren't, we're sort of in the same ballpark. I'm an old lady. You're still a young man.
You don't look like it. You look about my age. I couldn't tell. It's impossible.
But I just know that this generation of us, I feel like we're a bridge generation. I think the older generation, they saw things the way they saw it, coming through the civil rights movement, the fighting, the Jim Crow style,
the blood and fire, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But we don't have that same lived experience. I think the trauma still lives in us as a people, as those specifically those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery. That trauma definitely lives in our DNA. But here's where I think this generation of us, your generation, my generation, we're able to really bring the younger generation. We're able to say, you know what? We want you to have a better future and a brighter future than what we've had under these systems. So we want to create systems that really make all of this right. When I think about the fact that, here's our statistics, and in just a few minutes we're gonna get into China, because I know that's gonna take us through the rest of the broadcast.
Yes.
But here's where, Black America, the data shows that by 2053 we will have zero net wealth. We will be a wealthless class of people. We are truly on a race to the bottom. During COVID, we've lost upwards of 40% of our businesses. Now we have these mandates. I think 84 million people that might be forced to, take the vaccine, and now they won't have jobs. A lot of Black people, it's in our, it's part of our community to get them good government jobs, is what we call them. Get them good government jobs. So many people are in that sector, and they're going to be hurt by what is coming down the pike. So what's happening now is really hurting us as a people, like I say. But the data shows that by 2053, we're going to be at the bottom if something doesn't drastically change right here and right now. And reparations is the only policy that will fundamentally change the state and the fate of Black America.
Yes. And like you said, by 2053, and that's not just, a lot of people will hear it and they're like, oh, why does that affect me? I'm a white person, I'm a GOP, I'm not a Black American, so why should I care? And the reason why is because Black America is a good portion of the United States. They help build the United States. We are one together. And if they hit bottom, then the United States it creates basically there's a term called a dissident minority, which is, an insurgent minority or something like that. They've used it in communist playbooks, and that's what they're trying to create as a dissident minority. And it's a minority that has been oppressed so that they turn into a revolutionary stance. And if we continue that path, it's inevitable. That's what's going to happen. You can't let a people drop to rock bottom without helping them at all, and then expect them to continue to love you and expect them to continue to live next to you, beside you. It's like I said, it's national security. If we want to survive as a nation, we have to do it.
Mm-hmm. And here's where you're getting it, because that equates to crime. Like we have, crime in the Black community, crime, like in the city of Atlanta, for example, they have a serious problem, which I think all major cities have a problem. But this is where you have such a disconnect between those that are coming into these communities, gentrifying these communities, buying up properties, pushing these people out of the communities. These people can't afford to live where they've lived all their lives and what has belonged to them forever. This is where they grew up. This is where their parents grew up. And now they can't afford to live there. And you're causing animosity in this country amongst those of us who are foundational Blacks and foundational whites. You're causing animosity that we need to be coming together so that we can. And I'm serious where we can go with China. Like China is a powerhouse, right? Like China is a powerhouse right now. And for so many reasons, I'm going to let you dive into where China, they are, buying up everything, owning everything. What do we do to save our own nation and ourselves? We can't be divided at home if we want to be able to compete with a nation like China.
Exactly. And China's even had programs where they buy apartment complexes within cities, and then they tell all the people there, hey, we stopped the gentrification. And it's a ploy, so like basically if the United States doesn't step up, then the other superpower in the world will. The other superpower will seize on that weakness, and they'll be the ones that do it. They'll start offering programs and bringing the faith towards them. And some people ask, why is that a bad thing? Hey, if they choose China over America, what's the problem? Well, China is not a friend. Communism is not a friend. Chinese communism is not a friend or an ally. It's an enemy. And any help that it wants to give Black Americans, it comes at a cost. The same way that they've been buying land in Africa for the past 50 years or so, and creating slave mines over there. The cost is like, some people say, oh, maybe I can go be Chinese over in China, and you'll never be Chinese. If China, you know what I'm saying? It's like that's not how it works. It doesn't matter unless you were born in China, then you won't be Chinese. It doesn't matter if you live there for 100 years and you have kids, you are still an outsider, and you will always be an outsider. But unlike that in America, it's just a superior social system of, well, to me, of God, that where we have a higher power of identity, of the rule of law, that the rule of law comes from a place beyond us. And in China, it's the opposite. China, the rule of law comes from their king or their emperor or whatever they call themselves. And if the king says go kill, go rape, then it's okay, it's legal. But in our society, that's illegal no matter what, because the law comes from above us. We don't get to decide those things. So it's just a matter of, excuse me, it's just a matter of the future that we want. Oh, sorry about that. It's just a matter of the future that we want. And if we don't step up, then China will, or other nations will. Maybe China won't last, the next 20 years, but something will rise back up again to compete. And whatever it is going to try to use this division again. It's an open wound that we have in the United States that we need to close.
So go back to the point that you were making. So I have heard this, that so this is, I don't know where I heard this, but I did hear this, what you just said about the buying of the apartments, buying of land by foreign nations or foreign,
yes.
Foreign entities. They are like you say, they're owning parts of America the same way they're owning parts of China. And
yes.
Speak to the dangers of that. Like, I think we really need to like dive into that, because I think people don't, I see it like clearly, like, what if they owned 30% of America? That's a pretty large influence over this country.
Well, then it's basically like, is our government even in control anymore? If they own such large portions, is that not part of China? The same way that that France sold Louisiana and all to the west to the United States, it became part of the United States. So if we're selling land and buildings to these people, it basically is part of their party structure. And the reason why it's really dangerous is because they can at any time use our legal system to abuse that. Say they own an apartment complex that has 100 families, and they want these families to become a dissident minority. That's their term that they use in their war propagandas. They want to create a dissident minority, which doesn't mean a racial minority. It just means a small population that feels oppressed and wants to take down, the ruling class of government. So if they create that dissident minority, and the way they can do that is through evictions. They can evict a whole building, or they can decide we're going to demolish it. We're going to go through the demolish process and kick everybody out. So then it helps. And then the families that live there, they're not going to say, oh, it was the Chinese company that did this. It was the Chinese man. They live in America. They're going to think America did this. So it's a ploy to get us against each other. All the fighting that we've had over the, because we've been in America, we've become nothing more than, like you said, my generation, your generation, we become more loving. We played together on the playgrounds and played Nintendo together. We didn't even see race until we got older, and everybody was like, hey, this is, history. And we were like, oh, okay, and then we became together as friends into that. We're like, I'm sorry that happened. It's okay. I forgive you. But then, the older generation is still fighting because, like you said, there's, they grew up through the fighting. They're not done with their fight yet. They don't want it to be over, obviously. So we have to go to the next step, which is curing. With no more fighting, it's time to heal the wound. And the best way to do that is with it's not nationalism necessarily, but it's love for country, patriotism. We have to restore Black Americans' identity as Black America, not African or, because lots of the population has, I guess, given identity to different areas of the world. And they forget everybody forgets. Like in America, white people don't do that. You don't see a white person saying, I'm Irish American, I'm European American. They call themselves American. When you see Hispanics, they call themselves American. I'm Mexican American, but it's still American. It's America, one place. But there's been a push within white communities or not white communities, but white people for over the past 100 years to push the identity of African American, to try to, I guess, displace the identity of Black America to a different place, which is only divided us more. We have to come under the idea that America is Americans, that Black America actually helped build it more than white America did. It's like we were here, they were here. This is their nation just as much. We talk about the founding fathers. And to be honest, if we want to talk about the founding fathers, we need to put a couple slave faces up there too, because they helped found it just as much. They're the founding fathers just as much as Jefferson or Washington. So
yeah, and this is where delineation it has to happen for those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery, because we are the foundational Black Americans. We are the ones that were here. We were the ones that were slaves in this country. We were the ones that were brought here in chains, right? Yes. So this is where we have to be, as a nation, we got to see that there's a difference between those who are African Americans, those that have migrated from Africa into this country. They are African Americans.
Yes,
but those of us,
exactly.
but those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery, we are foundational Americans.
Foundational Americans. I like that term. That's a good one.
Just like the founding fathers, foundational white Americans, like, but so here's a story, and then we're going to get back over to China. But here's the story. I was in Clubhouse again, and there was a white woman who decided that she no longer wanted to be white. She said she was German American, so she was definitely embracing her culture, and she wanted to get beyond the stigma of what white America has given her. She really wants to get back to who, like, you're Jewish. Do you consider yourself Jewish American?
I consider myself American, and then I'm Jewish. So it is a difficult identity. But yeah, my love of America, it's the safest place that has ever existed for Jews ever in the history of the world. So I definitely am just an American. Jewish is a secondary identity. It's basically like being a Black American. It's an identity I can't take off necessarily. I mean, I can take my kip off, but it doesn't stop me from being Jewish. But yeah, I would just say that I'm an American. It's not like I'm an Israeli American or a German, because I have German roots as well, and Armenian roots and stuff like that. But I don't pay attention to any of those things. Just American. That's the only identity I need.
Yeah. But those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery, most of us consider ourselves Black Americans, because America doesn't allow us to be Americans first, and that is the history. It doesn't allow us to be Americans first. I'm Black first before I'm an American, because America treats me differently because of the color of my skin. So yeah, and that's a whole nother, we'll have to have that conversation, because that goes a whole nother direction. But bringing it back to China and reparations, how do we have this conversation with conservatives and Republicans? Because this is where I think they have to see the correlation between reparations and China. As you said in the very beginning, this is national security.
Yes.
This is how what I think you're saying is how you protect this nation, is that you first protect your people.
Exactly.
And those people will protect the nation, but you got to first protect the people. Go there.
Yep, that is exactly it. The way we protect our nation from China and from the influence of Marxist theory and Maoist theory, which is what the GOP and Republicans are. We already pay attention to China. We already pay attention to the communist spread theory through the United States. So it's, we have to connect the idea that healing America is the best way to stop it. That the way we protect America, like you said, is by protecting our people first. Because who protects America? Our people. It's not a magical, entity with magic arms. It's protected by the people on the ground. And if those people are not happy, and those people do not feel, protected and part of society, then they're not going to help the society. When it starts to collapse, they're just going to sit back and watch. We have to do that, because there's actually historical, things that show that China has actually been, within a lot of these Black organizations that exist, Black Rights Act organizations, not lots of them, but just a few of them. And they were trying to create inroads with these people, to push communist Maoist theory. And some of them actually got into shootouts, like in Chicago. There's the specific Chicago Black Panthers group that was that had direct communication with China. And they said, I forget who it was. I think it's the movie Black Judas. I think, have you heard that movie on HBO, Black Judas? Very good one. And yeah, it's about the Chinese Black, or not the Chinese Black Panthers, the Chicago Black Panthers up there. I think it's Black Panthers. It may be a different name. But yeah, they had direct contact with China. They were like, can we go to China? Can we go to Russia? We're able to get out of here. And so Russia and China had contact with them and promised them all these things, like, hey, once this starts, we'll come and get you. But then once they started, shooting with the police, contact was broken. They had nothing. So it was a trick. And the trick is to get Americans to turn on Americans, because the more that happens, the more they can gain power. So we have to stop with the idea that we have to fight each other, and we have to come together with the idea that we can help each other. If this is, it's simple. They're not, it's like, what's reparations compared to the other alternative? The other alternative is, complete collapse. Reparations is to me, it's a necessary thing, not just to restore just the faith of the United States, but to make whole a people that were wronged. Like like the Jews, we weren't made whole all the way yet in Germany. We made mistakes. And that's another thing why I say, like we don't have our land back in Germany. We only got one like cash payment, so we made mistakes with our reparations, and it's mistakes that we can use our expertise in to come and say, hey, this is how we can get you to help do it right. We made mistakes. We don't want you to make those same mistakes. That we see a way that you can do it better, and we're going to try to help with that. And that's the reason why I'm so involved in it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's where I think the majority of Black America, we see this, we see what's happening with China, but we don't quite see where it totally affects us.
Yes.
We don't see it. And so here's where I just want us to figure out how do we continue to have this conversation? Like, because I need you to kind of guide me there. I'm kind of losing. I'm trying to pull my thoughts together, but I know that Black America doesn't see the correlation between reparations and China.
Well, what it is that Black America is the first target of China. They're the ones that they're buying the property from. They're trying to buy the apartment complexes from, move people out. They're actually the first target of attack, other than a bank or something like that. So it's a defense technique that we have to protect this group of people first, because it's survival. Even if there are racists that say, hey, we don't want this, if they take down Black America, they're coming for you next, racists. So it's like, you better help out your fellow American, because if you don't, then they're going to come for you. It's like, that's the only idea that you've got.
So let me give you an example, and you tell me if this is kind of where you see it happening. Like, for example, properties that are in some, they're offering cash for your house. Like, they contact you and say, we'll give you cash for your house. They'll give you some significant amount of money, which is more than you've ever had as a Black person in your life. They'll give you a significant amount of money cash for your house. But what you don't understand is they're buying up the neighborhood, right?
Yes.
They're buying up all these properties, and we're vulnerable because America has left us vulnerable. My thoughts are coming together now. America has left us vulnerable to predatory practices by this particular, by these entities that are coming in and saying, we'll give you cash for this house. But because we are in a situation where we are vulnerable, we are desperate, we need this money, this neighborhood is falling apart. I need to get my kids out of here. I can't make it here anymore. I can't afford to live here anymore. Let me take this money for grandmama's house and let me get out of this neighborhood. But what we don't understand is that you've just now bought into something that is literally possibly working to take ownership of the very country that you live in.
Yes, and eventually it plans to remove not just Black America, but white America. They would. You have to realize there's billions of people under the Chinese. Now, when I talk about China, I'm not talking about the Chinese people specifically. I'm talking about the Chinese communist government that exists through the the Communist Party. It has a very specific ideology, and they want to expand because they have an overpopulation problem. So they obviously have a conquest goal, and one of the best places is the United States. They can't do it through war, so they follow something called Pai Cho, which is like Chinese chess. It's a more of an art of war, and their idea is to take down Black America through that, and then take down white America afterward. And I forget where the train of thought I had there for a second was what you were saying, but it's about so China, when they come in, they give money for the homes and stuff as well. They give money for the car. You have to realize that they know they've already strategically placed Chinese businesses within Black communities, Nike, stuff like that, so that when you do get money from these people, what are you doing? You're going back and spending it directly to the Chinese people the Chinese government who just sold it to you, because it's like a lot of these places are manufactured in China, so they give you money with the intention knowing you're going to give it back. So all you really did is lose your house. You didn't gain anything, and that's their goal is if they slowly take over the market, and they think that they can eventually, which they can, because it's a different class of war. It's a psychological operation where they can it's called demoralization. They want to demoralize certain populations, and through that it causes uprising, causes unrest, it causes oppression, it causes racial divide, and it causes issues. The American dream that at least I grew up in over the past 20 years has been, one of unity and and togetherness. And it seems like over the past 5 years, 6 years, that it has really broken down back into, a pre-2000s, 90s state where it was like in the 80s again, where everybody's kind of clashing back again. But it's less racist now. It's just more violent again. And I'm not sure what the issue is, but you see this like the Charlottesville stuff where the racist is running people over there, and they're walking around with tiki torches. It's like, why is this rising back up? And the only thing I can think of is that China is not just in Black America buying these businesses and this stuff, but it's also in white America, which is fueling hate groups, the KKK and stuff. So they're buying not just apartment complexes in Black America, but they're also buying, trailer parks and houses over in, not suburban America, but rural America, out in the sticks, as they call it. So they're buying farmlands and they're kicking them off of it and then doing the same thing. So it's a double-sided program that they have to demoralize both populations, and then through that to have us fight each other. And as we fight each other, only they win.
So now we're going to talk solution. I'm really enjoying this conversation, because this is where, and see, this is why I can't wait to serve in the United States Senate, because I'm going to have
we're going to get you there, I hope.
Yes, and we're going to have this conversation with I'm going to have this conversation with Republicans. I'm going to figure out how we meet, how do we do this, and how we work together. And this is where, I'm not your typical Democrat. I don't play that total party line. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And we're going to figure out where right is together as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, right?
Amen. Yep. I'd say the same way. I eventually want to run for office myself. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do. But hopefully we can meet each other in the offices, and we can continue this conversation one day within the halls of power and actually get stuff done, instead of just here on our streaming services. We can actually create bills together one day, and create a real coalition. While we may be Republican and Democrat, I see a new party of unity growing, across party aisles.
I just don't want to fight you. Like, I don't want to fight Republicans. I don't want
exactly. We're brothers. It's time to agree on something. We've been arguing for so long. I want to agree on something. And I've picked reparations as the thing I want to agree on. And if that's what's getting it done, then that's good for me.
Amen. Amen. And this is what it's going to take to bridge this country. That's why I'm like so glad. Like I say, our generation, I call us that bridge generation, because we see it. We see it as clear as day that when you have a stronger America, that means let's strengthen our people, education, opportunities. Let's strengthen our people, because we become our own military. Like, we become our own force to be reckoned with. Like, strengthen your people, all of your people, strengthen your people, so that when we have these outside entities, that come in and want to do what China is doing, coming in and stirring us up and getting us fighting one another. We already know that's my brother.
Yes.
I'm my brother's keeper. I'm not going to fight. We're Americans.
Yep.
And we're going to stand strong, and we're going to stand united, and we're not going to allow other nations to come in and divide us. This is the America that I want for my children and your children and our children's children. This is the country I want for us.
Yep. Exactly. You hit it. I don't think I could say another word. I think you hit every single word of it there. Say you hit it on. I don't even want to add on to what you said there. That was perfect.
I'm just so glad that we met, and people would see somebody like me and somebody like you, like, what the hell do they have in common? We have America in common. We have a heart to serve the people in common. We want to see this country be stronger. We want to see this country be united. We have a whole lot in common, David.
Yes.
Jacob.
Yep. Yeah, we do. Some people say, oh, he's white, she's Black, he's Republican, she's Democrat. Well, the one thing we have is American. We are Americans of the same country, the same. If America falls, I'm hurting, you're hurting. That's the one thing that we can all agree on. This place here, if it's gone, we're all screwed. So we have to not let that happen. So, we have to come together and agree. Like I said, agree on something at least.
Look, David, they're waiting on you to run. He says, add me to this team with David and Tamara.
Yes, definitely. See, it's the new team coalition of the future. Hopefully, I say hopefully, I'm sure we can get it done. There's going to be a little pushback, but on from both sides, obviously. But I think that over the next 20 years, so something like that we can. When I say 20 years, that's going to be, I say the healing processes, but I think we can get reparations within the next 5, more than likely. And that's a very good thing. We can get that within the next 5 years, if you ask me, because that's the time frame I say we have before it's too late, before we lose so many people that reparations won't even matter, or it'll be like, hey, you paid us, but what took you so long? It's like, what was the problem? So we have to get it done soon before it becomes that problem where it was just like, where we pushed it off for so long. I mean, I say the next 5 years because the people who built these laws, they're older in age now. We're going to see them eventually, leaving office. Pelosi plans to retire by 2024. Say Mitch McConnell 2022, something like that. So all these old faces are going to be retiring soon and leaving.
Bye.
Which is yeah, exactly. Bye. We're finally done. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Yeah, it's time for us to finally get stuff done instead of all this old people arguing. It's like, that's what it is. It's old people arguing over, what tomato soup they prefer or something like that. So it's time to get past that and go to the future again. Stop looking backward and start looking forward. And the forward is with reparations. Forward is with a reunity of the United States, and forward is to make sure that the U.S. is first and that we're not bending down to the Chinese influence inside the United States. And I say Chinese again as the nation, not the people. Chinese people inside the United States are actually more against China than most people are. They consider themselves refugees here. So, they're welcome 100%.
Yep. So he has a question. He says, please expound on how we become our own military. Want to talk about that? I think, like I said, the stronger we are, I think the better we are. Go ahead, David.
Well, you can't have a military without the people. We have our military is completely volunteer, so if nobody volunteers for it, then there is no military. I mean, eventually they can draft and stuff, but even if they did draft, it's still us that gets drafted, that it's our people that go into it and we command it. A lot of times we have a disconnect when we think of the military. We think of it as like separate, but it's like you can become a general. You know what I'm saying? It's us. It's Americans that are in position. We are the generals. We are the leaders. We are the officers. We are the infantrymen. And we make the decisions in combat to head forward, to turn back, or to defend ourselves, even if it doesn't mean war, necessarily with like guns and stuff, but to defend ourselves with a warlike fortitude. Like after Pearl Harbor happened, everybody came together and was like, we are Americans. It didn't matter, what stood in the way. They could have been arguing yesterday about, hey, your trees on my property line. It didn't matter anymore. It was, hey, your trees on American property line, So it was like, and I sound goofy when I say that, American, like America type thing. But it's honestly a good thing. The rest of the world, they have that patriotism for their country. So they've been trying to destroy that here. It's something that we need to keep together. But yeah, when it comes to our own military, it is. It's like that. We form it. We have a disconnect, and we have to remember it is us that make it. It's not. It's not Nicaraguans that come up here and join our military. It's not, Chinese coming over. It's Americans in the military, black and white Americans of all race, color, creed, Jewish Americans, all of us, we're all in it. It's the only army in the entire world that is diversified in that way. And it's the reason why we're the most powerful, if you ask me.
So here's another question. He says, is there an outline I can use to approach my Republican representatives in my state? And let me ask you, like, how, because I honestly, we've been saying reparations and having this conversation, but we tread lightly. I do with my conservatives and my Republicans, because honestly, I think it's white people's responsibility to have this conversation. They're going to hear you very differently. So
yes. It's like I said, it's the messaging that comes across, which I think it's ridiculous that we have to have where white people have to do it first, where we have to talk. I think that they should be able to listen to the other side. But for whatever reason, I'm not sure if it was like what you said. It's racism a little bit. It's more of I don't know. It's basically like propaganda talking points. The way I see it is that the reparations thing, the argument, the debate is that China is the one succeeding in it. They've given talking points to white Americans to say, you're going to pay for it. It's your money that you're going to be giving to them. Do you want to give your yard to black Americans? Do you want to give your toilet to a black American? So that's the message that they push, is do you want you want somebody to come into your house and set up a tent or something like that, you know, they make it seem like it's an invasion on social media. And it's the FBI has done studies that it is China that pushes this, you know, social media propaganda to make it seem like it's theft somehow, you know. And then so that's the conflict that's happening there. So the way that I would say that you have to approach your representatives at least is I mean, it's hard, you know, because a lot of the times, like the Black Lives Matter organizations or these, you know, I wouldn't even call them Black Lives Matter because a lot of them are Fox groups. There's Black Lives Matter, and then there's Black Lives Matter quotation marks. You know, people who just claim it and go out and attack people. You know, so there's the difference between the actual group and then the fake group that claims it for chaos. You know what I'm saying? The ones that are not there for Black Lives Matter. And those are the ones that like go and harass senators. They go outside their house and they're screaming at them, throwing eggs at them and stuff. And that makes them scared to listen. You know, it makes them where it's like, if somebody does come up and say, hey, I want to talk to you about reparations, it's just like, no, you threw eggs at me yesterday. You know, it's like, so it's a tactic that's used to try to get the conversation to stop. So I'd say that the best way to do it is call them on the phone, talk to them respectfully. I mean, to be honest, most people don't know this, but a lot of the times you can actually talk to your congressman. You can physically speak to them. Like if you call and say, hey, I'm so-and-so from this town here. I wanted to talk to my congressman about this. The chances are maybe 2-3 times out of 10 that you will get transferred over to speak to them. And it's depending on who it is. I mean, if you have Pelosi or something, you're not going to talk to them, but you know, it's, if you have a smaller congressperson, then you will be able to speak to them. And then when you speak to them, just, like I said, use the terms of like national security. Hey, it's a national security issue that we need to restore America's faith. You know, I want to be an American again. I don't want to feel left out. I want to feel part of the country again. You know, appeal to the patriotism that the Republicans have. If you appeal to that and say, you know, I want to be a patriot. I want to be a patriot again, but I don't feel like I can unless I've been paid my debt. I mean, it's just a message that they're going to hear. They're going to hear that and go, I like that. I like that a lot. You know, that's a message we can get behind. I mean, I've used it myself to get a couple. They haven't come out yet and they haven't said it on public stage, but I've had a couple senators that have agreed, you know, that they're behind reparations if it's the right package. So it's definitely good. It's just that the messaging has to be done right. That's all it is the messaging. We have to defeat the propaganda that's trying to divide us and come together. They want us to argue over it. And I say we don't need to argue over it. We just need to agree on it. You know, that's what they wanted us to argue over. Then we're going to say, nope, sorry. We're going to take the rug out from underneath China and say your propaganda didn't work at all.
Yep. He says you are a breath of fresh air, King David. Yes, you are. And you know what? We're going to continue to get this, you know, keep working to get this right. That's why I said I'm excited about our generation, because I know that we are the bridge to the next generation and what America is going to be. And these old politicians and those that are fighting in Congress, like I said, I don't want to fight Republicans. I want to figure out how we negotiate, how we meet in the middle, how we get this right for the sake of all of America. Like, how do we get this right? I want this country to be the greatest that is, you know, whatever it's supposed to be. I want it to be that. I want to see other nations thrive. I don't like to fight. I fight because I have to.
Yes,
it ain't what I like to do. So
it's a need. It's a survival need, not because we want to. You know, it's like you said. I want to see other nations thrive too. I don't want to just see America thrive and Black America and White America thrive, but I want to see the whole world thrive. I want to see Africa thrive. I want to see Israel thrive. I want to see Palestine thrive, even though there's that conflict there. I want to see those people thrive. You know, I want to end the conflicts and just come to agreements on things. And it's like, that's the only option that we have. We can fight for the rest of our lives. We can fight for the rest of the time, or we can agree and we can live in a great place. You know, it's literally the two options that we have. That's the only ways forward that we have in this society. And that's what we built ourselves on in the United States, was compromise. It was, hey, I disagree, you disagree, let's meet in the middle. You know, that's the only way that we can get things done. And that's, even though we're polarized today, left and right, I still think that there is some ability that we will be able to get it done, hopefully, within the next 5 years, maybe even within the next 2. We got to get new people placed into positions, you know, hopefully, like you. If we can get you in there, I know Warnock talks a lot, but I'm not sure he's actually going to do anything. You know, but you, I'm sure will. I'm sure that we can get reparations done with you, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. That is what I'm going in writing. They can't tell you
Yes.
what you can't write. I'm
Yes,
going in
exactly.
writing that bill.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
My first line of business.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It'll
David, Jacob, you have been, like he said, a breath of fresh air. I know that we're going to get this right as a nation, as a people. I am so delighted that we have connected. We're going to continue to stay connected. And I just want to thank you for joining us on this
thank you.
broadcast. You are welcome back. I know that we can have this conversation and any other conversation. You are welcome back anytime. You are a friend to this broadcast. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, thank you. I enjoyed it myself too. I'd say I had a great time today. This is actually the first time I've done a broadcast like this, even though I have all the equipment for it. So
Look,
I
I
usually
see
just do
that
like
serious
podcasts.
mic you got. You got a serious mic right there. So I know you got some great equipment.
Yep, yep. Say I've never used it either, right until now. So this is my first time. So I was happy.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, you got to start a podcast or something so we can start following you. I know you got some issues on social media like I do. I'm kicked off of Facebook. So
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I got it all so I could do like Clubhouse stuff, and then I got kicked off of Clubhouse. I was like, that's the whole reason I got the whole setup was for Clubhouse, and I can't do it anymore.
that's okay.
So
You start a podcast and we're gonna start following you. Look, we have to fish from
we'll
these
do.
social media platforms. These are just oceans that we fish from. Let's go get our people, reel them in, and start
Yes.
that podcast. We'll be right there with you.
Yep, I agree. I'll get it done, and I'll send you the information.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you for joining me today, and I will see you soon. Thank
All
you,
right. Thank
David.
you. Have a
All
good
right,
one.
have a good one.
Bye.
Bye bye. Y'all, this was great. I'm telling you, reparations. We are closer than we know. This is going to happen. Oh, he is a breath of fresh air. Absolutely, absolutely. I am Tamara Johnson Shealey, y'all. Always giving voice to issues, activists, and activism. Please support this broadcast, TamaraShealey.com. Go to my website, TamaraShealey.com. This is independent media. This is independent media, y'all. Independent media. We have to tell our own truth. We can't wait for them to do it for us. They're not. They're not. And you know who I am. I am Tamara Johnson Shealey, taking a bold agenda to Washington. Please support this campaign, TamaraForGeorgia.com. Go to the website, donate, volunteer, be a part of this movement, y'all. Be a part of this movement. Reparations is here. Reparations is now. I told you that is my first line of business in the United States Senate. So we are working alongside churches in the reparations movements, reparationssunday.com. Go to the website, churches, make sure you're listed there because there's activists and those of us who want to be a part of a church where you are speaking to our spirits, speaking to our souls in this world that we live in today. So reparationssunday.com, support us there. If you are here in the state of Georgia, HB541, HB541.net, commissioned to study the impact of slavery is in this Georgia legislature coming up in 2022. Let's get this bill passed, y'all, right here in the great state of Georgia. And you can find me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No, just Monday through Thursday, not Friday. Keeping Up with Congress, y'all, on Facebook, Clubhouse, Twitter, YouTube, and on the Wisdom app, y'all, at Tamara Shealey. You can find me all over Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 p.m. Keeping Up with Congress, because we will not get reparations without negotiations, y'all. We will not get it without negotiations. And on Tuesdays, y'all, you know, I'm busy. This is what campaigning is. I'm busy. I'm where I need to be, everywhere, all the time. Tuesdays on Clubhouse, hashtag white women for reparations. White women for reparations. White women are coming together. They get it. Like our brother David, he gets it. He gets it. Thank you, David, for just being again a breath of fresh air, like he said. On Thursdays on Clubhouse, hard conversations, white women, black women, let's talk. We go there. We get to the root of our divide because we women, we got to get past it, beyond it, and we got to figure out how to work together. So hard conversations, white women, black women, let's talk. And on Fridays, on Clubhouse Fridays, we just started something new. What's up, Georgia? What's up, Georgia Network? Come network with us on Clubhouse. What do you do? Who are you? Come share, share. What's up, Georgia on the Clubhouse app. Follow me, y'all. I am everywhere. Got a fundraiser coming up, y'all. I have a fundraiser coming up. Let me put it on the screen. There it is, y'all. There it is. Cooking with the Candidate. Cooking with the Candidate, y'all. Go to the website, TamaraForGeorgia.com. fundraisers, cooking with the candidate, y'all. I don't know how to cook. It's a lot of things I know how to do. Cooking is not one of those things. So we're going to do some cooking, y'all. I'm going to learn to navigate my way around the kitchen. I want to learn to bake ultimately because I like sweets, but I want healthy sweets. I don't know if there's a such thing, but we'll figure that out as I learn how to cook. So join me November 17th for a fundraiser, y'all, cooking with the candidate, y'all. 1 hour. Join me, bring your glass of wine. I made some wings this past week. She and I did a live, Chef Shell, she and I did a live. My wings didn't turn out like hers did. Hers were crispy and beautiful. I actually put the top on the pot when I shouldn't have. So my wings were a little softer than hers. See, I told you I didn't know what to do. Cooking with the candidate, y'all. Fundraisers on my fundraiser page, tamaraforgeorgia.com/fundraisers, y'all. We have a lot of fun with our fundraisers. So Polishing Politics, y'all. I got to bring you up to speed. Polishing Politics fundraisers on that page, on that fundraisers page. Some really nice gifts for the holiday season that is fast approaching. Y'all see me with my red hat, my Santa cup, my black Santa. Polishing Politics, y'all. Go to the page, get you some cute gifts to share, some cute things for yourself, things that you could actually, gifts that you could to give to others. So help me, help us. And let's celebrate this holiday season. And campaign swag, y'all. Campaign swag is on the website. Campaign swag is on the website. Fundraisers page, the fundraisers page on the Tamara for Georgia website. So, this was a great broadcast. I appreciate David for joining me. This was awesome. So I will see you back here on Monday, keeping up with Congress, y'all. See you Monday.
When we come to Washington in this campaign, we're coming to get our check. Young prodigies. Grow. Free.
Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Green, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our paper.
Kicking the door, coming for our 40 acres and more. Our 6.4 trillion. Miss that no, we fought the Civil War.
We came from the poor.
Start from the bottom, we still on the floor. We pray to the Lord.
Amen.
Picking the cotton, our fingers are sore.
Straight after underground, escaping from slavery, the only cemeteries that we had were the trees. Watching our bodies while they blew in the breeze. Thinking to the north side to get free.
That way came from slavery. Where's on the mirror once you say old me? Put her head on the door, but the world won't scheme. Seek to the north side to get free.
Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Green, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our paper.
We taking them back. Putting Pettis Bridge on the map. Police came with the strap. That Sunday was bloody, no cap.
Stop capping.
Speaking of cap, Kaepernick taking knees at the flag. Where my justice at? We built this nation, better give me them racks. All fat, just imagine a little bit of gasoline. 4 girls got bombed back in 63.
400 years, yeah, we still ain't free. Our rise, we rise, take a knee.
Kaepernick.
Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Green, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me.
Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our paper.
We stuck in the trap, with no shoes, trying to pull up bootstraps. Increasing the gap, wealth got bigger, so we had to adapt. Discriminated cause we black, I know it worth more than I know it's a fact. They tryna feed scraps, strike me on board so we can't come back.
30 years ago on April 19, Yusef and Triremi chemical read.
If it happened to them, think it happened to me. It's Cubans out of 5 to a free.
Prodigies.
Reparations.